And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. Tavomunk from Adventurers Inc. That's right, Adventurers Inc. What's happening? So he is wanting to know a couple of things. One, he runs a Rex lead or he runs a Darth Maul lead. He does a couple of both, and that's kind of the current meta is Rex and Maul, and so he can run both. But he's kind of wanting some ideas for something different to run in the arena. So I'm going to give him a couple of ideas, about 3 of them. One of them is going to take a lot of work. The other 2 he probably can do pretty easily. And then he wants to know more about Phase 2 and Phase 3 of the Heroic AAT, what teams he should build, and then ship. So I'm going to go into them kind of as I have them discovered, and Phase 2 of Heroic AAT is where I'm going to go first. So let's go ahead and go in and show you what he should be using for Phase 2. So for Phase 2, you're going to use clones, but you got to finish your clones. You're not quite there. You're developing them, and you don't have a Zeta on Cody. So they're not ready yet. We're going to go into the team you're going to use in the meantime in a second. But this will be your end game, end goal for Phase 2 or for Phase 4 will be the clones, and you definitely are going to have to Zeta Cody, and you're going to have to finish. You need to get them at least to Gear 10, and it looks like you're pretty close with, Gear 8 or 9 on most of these guys. So you're getting really, really close. Just continue to work on this team. In the meantime, until you get there, use this team. No surprise here. Droids, you already have HK 47, 88, and 86 at Gear 11, 7-star. You really want speed on your droids. And then, of course, you'll need Chief Nebit and Jawa Engineer, which you have both of Gear 11. So this looks like this is probably the team you've been using, but you're probably not satisfied with the amount of damage. You're probably not getting as much as you'd like. So it all boils down to mods, really. It's amazing if you get an extra, 10 speed on a particular character like Cody. All of a sudden, you get an extra 200,000 damage in the raid. It's kind of crazy. You can track that stuff. So if you're not getting as much damage in the meantime, you might want to consider shifting a few better mods onto these characters. But this is not your in-game team, even though this is a phenomenal team. You got your clones almost there, so work on them. Now let's go ahead and move into Phase 3. Now for Phase 3, there's actually a couple of examples you could do. One would be a Sith team that's like a Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine. You could use Darth Nihilist, Darth Maul, and it actually, I've seen anywhere from 600,000 to 1.2 million using a Sith team. So the first one I'll suggest is a Sith team, but the second is pretty known. The second team is inside of Empire, and you can run it a couple of ways. If you've got Chief Chirpa, 7 stars, and his leadership ability maxed out, you could use him as a leader with Emperor Palpatine, and you can get 600,000 to 1.2 million with this way as well, using Emperor Palpatine, shocking all of the add robots or the additional robots, and you've got your Royal Guard and TIE Fighter pilot. But an alternative, if you don't have Chief Chirpa, is going to be use Emperor Palpatine as your leader. And the reason for that is his leadership ability is going to give potency for his character. So you're going to lay down all of those negative debuffs, but also whenever an Empire ally inflicts a debuff, they're going to gain 20% turn meter. Now when you pair that with the TIE Fighter pilot, what you're going to get is the ability for him to do the TIE Strike with an 80% chance to inflict buff immunity on everyone. Because there's so many add robots, you're almost guaranteed 100% turn meter, which means he just gets to keep going over and over and over. This guy is absolutely nutty. He does a lot of damage, 20 to 25k a shot, pretty easily. And so you can use him under Emperor Palpatine and use 3 tanks like Royal Guard, Shore Trooper, and Stormtrooper Han just to kind of keep them alive. But your Chief Chirpa's not ready, so you'd need to finish your Chief Chirpa if you wanted to use him in Phase 3, but this alternate team. But again, you have an awesome Sith team, and I know a lot of people that in Phase 3 just are tired of the Chirpantine or the Tebotine or any of those. And Tebow's another option in Phase 3 as well. But if that's the case, you could use your Sith. They work very, very well in Phase 3 to get you 600,000 to 1.2 million pretty easily, especially with Darth Vader and all of those. You can take out the ads pretty quickly with Darth Maul. Darth Maul also will daze many of them, preventing them from doing all of the additional bonus attacks that they normally get. And then remember, Darth Nihilist is going to do about 100,000 Now, you got to get him to 7-star. You're almost there. You're at 6 stars. But if you used him in this, you get 100,000 damage, and you get to use that almost every other turn. And the reason for that is the amount of additional robots. When you do the Force Drain and you reduce the cooldowns of your Annihilate, there's a possibility of reducing that Annihilate and using it basically every other turn or every turn. It's pretty batty. It's every other turn, because you'd have to use the cooldown on one, and then your Force Drain on one, and then the Annihilate on the next. But it's a quick way to do 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000. I know a lot of people that do that. So if you want to do that team as well, use your Darth Nihilus. You're going to have to get him to 7 stars. I'd be saving up your crystals and buying him out of the store, as well as you can get him out of the shard shop for a limited time. So there's those 2 teams. Let's go ahead and move into Arena. So when I look at your Arena team, I see a really, really strong 3 Sith team with a Turret and Baze in the background, and that's awesome. You've got some Cleanse, you've got an Auto Taunt, you've got a Dispeller, you've got Stun and all of that. But the one character that you don't have geared up at all or anything that I think would go great in here is Sith Assassin. So you're going to have to farm her and gear her up, but she is one of the best Sith in the game. She's going to make Darth Maul and Darth Nihilus extremely fast, constantly speeding them up and giving them additional turns. She can stun characters just like Emperor Palpatine can, and she does damage straight to health, which is really, really damaging. So I would recommend trying out Sith Assassin in the place of your Emperor Palpatine. When your team goes faster, the faster they go and the more turns they get, the more likely you are to be victorious, and she can definitely speed the team up where Emperor Palpatine cannot. And she keeps herself stealthed pretty regularly, so she's really hard for them to take out, where Emperor Palpatine is pretty easy to take out. Because of that. So I know with the Darth Maul lead, you get the stealth from all your Sith, but she's especially evasive, even under Darth Maul, even more so than Emperor Palpatine. So that's my suggestion for your current team. If you don't want to use your current team, though, there's a couple of options. One of the options would be to run a Darth Vader lead. I know it's not very popular. Not a lot of people like to do this, but you would run a Darth Vader lead, and you would actually run that with Emperor Palpatine, Darth Nihilus, Savage Opress, and Sith Assassin. So the top 4 of your Sith plus Sith Assassin in there. You'd have the Sith Assassin Savage Opress combo, Emperor Palpatine, who's already overpowered as hell, Darth Nihilus, and Darth Vader, and all of those debuffs that you're putting down are going to, all the damage over times are going to stay there. They're not going anywhere because of your Darth Vader lead. And Sith Assassin's going to be there to speed this team up and assure that your Darth Vader goes very, very quickly, which is really the key to a Darth Vader lead, is having your Sith Assassin really, really fast. So the very fastest mods you have go on her, and then she helps your Darth Vader go really, really fast. Another team totally opposite of this comes out of Rebels. So you got Sith, but you also have Rebels, and this would be a Wedge Antilles lead. Now the reason for this is because he's going to give 30% offense to everyone that's a rebel, and they're going to recover max health and turn meter on a critical. So that's really, really important. You'll want to have them crit chance, crit damage mods on your characters, and then they recover 25 max health whenever an enemy's defeated. So as people die, they're going to gain health back, but they get turn meter and whatnot. This is a really, really great leadership. Now, what's crazy about this team is you don't need Biggs if you don't want to use Biggs, but you can if you want to use Biggs because he's so leveled up, you could. And of course, you're going to want to use your Turret and Baze. And then for the 5th person, you could actually put in Darth Nihilus. So you have the insta-kill, and you have another person that dispels the team. Plus, he's increasing cooldowns. Pretty crazy. And he's very tanky. He'll take care of himself. But Wedge lead is really kind of on the rise. It's on the comeback. So that's definitely one that you want to consider. The third one comes by way of Imperial Troopers and Empire. Now, this team would be the most work for you, but you might be looking for something like this that you could really dig into and have to develop a number of characters for. You already have Death Trooper and Shore Trooper. They're 2 of the 5 I would recommend in this team, but your General Veers and Snow Trooper are leaving something to be desired. So General Veers and Snow Trooper you'd want to put in your favorites, and you'd want to max star and gear them up as much as possible. Now, the crazy thing is I'm not suggesting General Veers as the leader. I'd actually suggest he not be the leader. I would suggest, though, that you Zeta his unique ability for the protection regeneration, 10% protection regeneration, and then pair that with your Director Krennic as the leader, because he also has protection regeneration. So for multiple reasons, you're going to be able, with both of their Zetas, now this team will take 40 Zetas, and you'd have to gear up 3 characters. So this is the most work of any of the character or teams I'm suggesting, but you're the one that wanted arena options, and I'm giving you some really good ones. So Director Krennic as the lead, Death Trooper, Shore Trooper, Snow Trooper, and General Veers, and you really, to make this an overpowered team, need both the Director Krennic and General Veers Zeta mats for their abilities. But this is an amazing team. I have seen it in play, and it's pretty awesome indeed. Now let's move on to ships. For your regular arena, you're doing really well. For your fleet arena, you're doing okay. You're not doing horrible. It looks like ships have not been a super focus for you as a regular arena is, but you're still in the top, pretty much 200. That's pretty awesome. You're using Admiral Akbar, and that's a great ship to use. Let's go into your inventory, and I'll suggest the ships that I would use in your lineup. So the first thing I would use is going to be your Admiral Akbar, because he's the best capital ship that you have, and you're going to want that advantage with the best ship that you have. And then I would actually use your TIE Advanced, even though it's only 4 stars, Imperial TIE Fighter, and First Order TIE Fighter. Now that's a lot of TIE Fighters, and that is a lot of target lock, but you're going to pair those 3 target lock characters with Biggs. What's going to happen is Imperial TIE Fighter is going to get a go probably first because he's the fastest. He's going to target lock more than likely on his basic, which is going to instantly trigger Biggs and his taunt. What that means is that now your entire team is protected for a turn. Now, you're going to continue to target lock, which is going to keep Biggs in a perpetual state of taunt, which is going to require everyone to take him out before they can even get to your other TIE Fighters. Now, these TIE Fighters do a lot of damage. The First Order TIE Fighter especially, because his special ability, Strafe, can be reset each and every time because he's target locked. If the person is target locked, the strafe is refreshed. And strafe can easily do over 50k. So that is a really quick way to chew up an opponent and spit them out and climb up into the top 50 or top 20 of your arena shard. As far as those 3 TIE Fighters and Biggs under home 1, that's great. The only other character that you might want to consider throwing in that initial lineup is going to be the Scimitar. And the reason for that is it will be able to go stealth, put the retribution on Biggs, and force everyone to further attack Biggs. And he's going to go out of turn. He's going to target lock the foes as well. And he's going to regenerate protection because of Admiral Akbar's abilities. So the Scimitar is an excellent ship to put in that initial 5, and they'll be protected. Now, Biggs is going to die, more than likely, because you're making everyone target him. So in your first slot of your lineup of the back 3 potential ships that you'll have, Sunfac would be the first ship I'd have in here. Now, you will have to continue to develop Sunfac. This is one of the strongest ships in the game, and he's pretty low on the totem pole for you, and that's because he's only gear 8. So you're going to want to get your Sunfac ship up higher. Actually, it's showing your Sunfac is gear 11 now there, but it was showing it gear 8 back here. That's weird. Total visual glitch. Anyway, that's okay. Use your Sunfac. I still recommend him for that first slot. And then Slave 1 in your second slot. And then probably Jedi Consular, because he calls an assist and puts protection up and is real tanky in that third slot. And so Jedi Consular is just a good old-fashioned ship. And by the way, when you're on offense and you haven't lost your Biggs, which happens often for me, you can finally, when you lose one of your other attacking ships and Biggs is still alive, instead of bringing Sunfac in, your first ship coming in could be Slave 1, and since everyone will be perpetually target locked because of Darth Vader, you'll be able to do Slave 1's proton torpedoes, and this is going to do a significant amount of damage to every single person target locked. This is just a really, really, really fun team to play, and you have all of the players to make this team happen. So that's what I would suggest. You have a great team already. You're doing well in Arena. My suggestion is to try out the Director Krennic-led Imperial Trooper team, or try a Wedge lead Rebel team, or the Darth Vader Sith team. Those are 3 different options that you're not seeing a ton of in Arena, or you probably won't in your shard because of what you're seeing. Of course, ships, you're doing well, but you could definitely do better. Make sure you're using all of your ship battles. And of course, for Phase 2, your droids and Jawas until you get your clones up. And Phase 3, there's a bunch. I would probably use your Sith or the Empire comp I explained. As always, have yourselves a wonderful afternoon. Keep your gaming on. Warrior, out.